Hello, everybody. This is Cholera, host of the SC2GG Commentator Idol, and I am proud to present, finally, Tasteless's comments on the four commentaries of the final two contestants. I believe Tasteless had some issues with his computer recently, and of course he was busy commentating live Bisu versus Jaedong in the GOM TV match, so he's just gotten his recordings to me. They're very informative, and I definitely hope some of you guys will take this into account before casting your vote or have saved your votes until now. Just as a quick reminder, Game 1 that he's referring to is Hazel's solo commentary. Game 2 is Kenny's solo commentary. Game 3 is Hazel's dual commentary. And Game 4 is Kenny's dual commentary. Thank you guys so much for your patience and for watching this show. And the final episode will be up in a few days.
Hey guys, this is Nick Plott, also known as Tasteless. I'm doing this audio recording for SC2GG Commentator Idol. The finalists, Hazel and Kenny. Right off the bat, I want to say thank you for letting me do this. I apologize for getting this in late. I've been a little bit busy down here in Korea. I'm going to get right into this because I don't think this this device I'm using lets me record for a long period of time. For both the commentators, I think you guys are both very good. You both have great voices. I don't struggle to understand anything that either commentator is saying at any point in time. I would recommend that you both use a little bit more force in your voices when you get to exciting moments, and I think that takes a little bit of practice. And to be honest, sometimes I'm a bit too forceful, and I tend to lose my voice the next day. I don't know if you can tell now, but I was casting only yesterday, and my voice is a little bit hoarse. And at times I've almost completely lost my voice at events. But if you can, really try to go all out at exciting moments. I noticed particularly with Hazel, she has a tendency to get a little bit breathy in her voice at critical moments rather than adding a little bit more force in there. But, you know, you guys both have great voices. It's not difficult to listen to you, so props to you there. Now, going on to the individual parts of criticism, I'm going to start with the first game that was sent to me. That was Hazel casting the Protoss versus Zerg. She was casting by herself. I think there was some problems with the analysis of the rush when Hazel's talking about the rush, and she describes it as the rush sucks, the rush that Cal does, when in fact the rush is quite strong. You might not be familiar with it, but it's actually pretty common with fast expanding Protosses that find their opponents pretty early on. The mistake he made was he did not force his second probe in the back to guard the cannon while it's warping in, so in case drones are glitched through, that probe can help defend and maybe even make another cannon there. Meanwhile, the other probe makes cannons on the outside after the drone threat is gone, and ultimately the hatchery's taken out. Then Protoss cuts 1 to 2 probes in his main, gets cannons up in time to defend, and it's usually a win situation from there. However, the execution was quite poor, not the strategy. That's the only thing that really stuck out with me there. But in reality, I think that is a pretty tough game to cast. So overall, pretty good there. I think you said as much as was needed to be said. There are other things I can say, but I think that's enough there for criticism on that game. Going on to Game 2, this game was pretty interesting. I think the pregame analysis was good, everything you said. I think there was some bad analysis in the mid-game, and I don't want you to beat yourself up on that. You do seem to be unsure of yourself in when casting StarCraft if there are no units moving around the map, if there is no action. You seem to be very comfortable analyzing action rather than analyzing players teching in certain directions. That seems to be where you struggle. And I think if you're going to work on something, that should be what you work for. There seemed to be this obsession in this game about why Flash did not get the second gas, and I feel like I need to talk about that for a minute. Flash does not get his second gas in a 5-factory timing push because after he gets his initial large group of tanks out, and as you both notice, he does get a large number of tanks out early on. From there, he wants to focus all of his minerals on turrets for the push and making vultures to reinforce that. But the mistake Flash made was he was pretty much unsure of himself during the entire push. And I think that's partially because he didn't really seem to know what was going on with the Protoss for most of the game. The turret push is supposed to work against Arbiters, but he didn't quite get to the Nexus to trigger the Protoss to attack early enough, and I think that was his big mistake. And really, in a 5-factory timing push, if your initial push doesn't work, you're probably going to lose the game, especially against a player of the caliber that Best is. Now, talking about... actually, hold on, I have something else written down. Oh, yeah, I think you might want to work on handing off your info a little bit better. You seem to make statements and then cut yourself off and wait for your co-caster to pick up as if you're two individuals taking turns saying stuff about the game, when it should really be much more of a conversation, of a dialogue. And I think that can be quite difficult to do online, which is why you want to make sure you're handing off information correctly, or you're notifying each other when you're about to finish via instant messengers. But overall, yeah, you're a good commentator, and I don't want you to take these criticisms too harshly. I respect what you're doing, because it's not easy to put yourself out on the line like this. Going on to our second caster, Kenny. God, my voice is messed up, man. Forgive me, I sound a little hoarse. I want to say it, talking about the first game, the game that you casted solo. I right off the bat, I did laugh. I did LOL at your comment about the intro. I thought that was pretty funny. So I like that. I like that you're adding your own personality into this. I would be careful when you talk about what types of unit mixtures Zerg players use, because it's heavily map dependent, and a lot of it has to do with how the Protoss is teching. Zerg is mostly a response-based race in this matchup, so really don't go out there and say that he's going to do something unless you're experienced enough with Zerg that you know exactly how he's going to counter that, because it really is a very response-based matchup. The only thing that really stuck out with me, and I think I don't know, I haven't read any comments or anything else that anybody said about this. I didn't want to be influenced by anything, but the joke about Jelizerg being fat, you know, I pop jokes at the players that I'm casting all the time, but I think probably avoid mentioning that a player is fat simply because you know, he's supposed to be the star. He's supposed to be our star. We're casting this famous player. We're supposed to be making him kind of into the badass. And, you know, unless it's a joke about his inability to micro or macro or make decisions, probably not worth it, even if some people find it funny. But then again, you're probably feeling yourself out with this casting stuff and not sure what you should or should not say. So, you know, I think what's more important is that you probably just learned from that, and not to have a bunch of angry Jelizerg fans flaming you. Let me see here. What else do I have written down? Yeah, I think that's pretty much most of what I had to say about that game. There really wasn't much more than that. I think you weren't sure about Jelizerg Hydra rushing until he actually did. And I think the real mistake here is that, for whatever reason, Stork did not get cannons to cover the Forge, and the Forge is really critical. You need, and I think you acknowledge that, you know, to get that +1 upgrade. But I can't believe that Stork didn't get the cannons up there to cover that. That was a bit of a shocker, but you pretty much pointed that out. But yeah, if you see the Zerg getting the Hydraless Den before the layer, it's a pretty good indicator that he's going to Hydra Rush, especially if he gets a 4th hatchery. I don't think I have much more time. I think I have a 10-minute time limit on this audio recording. Okay, so going on to game 2. There was some technical difficulty here. I don't know what happened. You guys both stopped. I don't actually know what happened there, so I don't know what to make of that. Maybe the SC2GG people can explain that, or Clauser can explain that. He said that something stopped. I don't know if there was a technical difficulty or what. And he said he would have restarted, but I guess he didn't. I don't know if there was some confusion with information handing off, or I should say handing off, you know, to the other caster. But if it was a problem with handing off, then yeah, definitely make sure that your co-caster knows that it's time to speak. That's critical. Really, I don't think there was too much else I needed to say. I felt pretty comfortable listening to this game. I thought overall it was pretty good. The casting, the analysis was good. The energy, I think, was correct. I think there should have been this point where you should have mentioned that it's really the late game in the middle of the map on Medusa, because this late game was really all in the middle of the map. It's really all about EMP versus stasis, and pulling off that good stasis before they get EMP'd. And you can see that there was a moment where Lita tried to sneak out an EMP that Arbiter, which was hidden, and he didn't get away with it. But that was the reason why for that. But that was the only thing that really stuck out with me on that. So, yeah, that was really all I had written down about that. So I think to wrap this up, I think you're a good caster as well. I like that you had humor in there. I think that's something I do as well. But you always got to be careful. I think it's okay to offend people sometimes, but you got to make sure, are you offending people who are just rabid fans, or are you offending somebody? I mean, if somebody else watches the game themselves, will they be offended themselves by that? And I think if Jelizer heard that comment, he probably wouldn't be thrilled by it. But yeah, I mean, just keep that in mind. I think you know where I'm coming from, and I wouldn't beat yourself up over that. But yeah, thank you, SC2 GG Commentator Idol. I think this audio recording is going to cut me off in about 30 seconds, so I do apologize for making you guys wait. I'm sorry my voice sounds very hoarse. It always sounds like this the day after I broadcast. But I think you guys are both great casters, and I look forward to seeing how the audience decides. And I hope you guys continue to cast games, whether that be StarCraft or anything else, regardless of what the results are in this event. So thank you both so much for your time. And again, I do apologize for being late on this. And thank you, SC2GG. I hope you guys do more events like this in the future.